Okay, all those crazy things you said before, you folks, are now forgiven because it wasn't recorded. So,
Yay!
yay, crankakers.
Yay!
Yay. You guys remember that show? People used to have these telephones that didn't show you a number on it, so you could crank call people and say messed up stuff, and then hang up on them.
Yeah, yeah.
Back in
Hey,
the
you
day.
know, kids still do that.
Yep, sophisticated versions of that, and folks, and I recommend it. I mean, Mesa College may not though, but so I'm gonna click on this
Mason
thing,
College may not
right?
though.
I hit my finger down in the note, and it made a note, and when my finger went past the little sensor in the key, went past this little sensor, it measured the speed of the note, and it wrote it down like as this number. If I actually go to the left of this little note, it's super hard to see, but it appears right in this area here. You'll see a number. It says 50 right now. As I drag it up, it becomes a louder note. You hear how it sounds like almost a metallic sound now?
Yeah.
Because this thing has been like really nailed. That's because there's several recordings of the same note, several wave files sitting on my computer, because this is a high-end instrument. And
Flex.
they call it a multi-sample because you have many different samples of the same sound all stacked together. And then if I play softly in the MIDI keyboard, it plays back this sample here. Sorry. If I bring it up a little bit more. Every time I bring up the volume, it changes to different wave file samples in the background. And so that's able to then create a much more realistic sound. If I don't like the way something sounds in a MIDI recording then too, maybe when I'm playing back, so here, maybe that was too loud. I'm like, nah, make it more subtle. Sometimes having them all the same volume level can. This part may be a little bit softer. You can see that I changed the volume on purpose here to make it softer, but maybe I wanted it even softer yet. So I could take all those and just all drag them down at the same time. Now. Maybe I want them even softer. I'm going to make these things soft as possible on a real dramatic effect. I can select them and bring them all down together like this. Yeah, I like that little drop. But there's cool things you can do outside of that. I can not only change all the velocity, I can go in, I can change the panning information. I can change like sustain pedals. See this right here? I have a pedal under my foot, and when I switch chords and playing harmonies, there's all that saturated floating watercolor sound that you hear. That's when you have the piano pedal or a pedal on this long, but it allows the sounds to keep on decaying for a long time. So every time I change harmony, I don't want the previous harmony to like wash over my current one. So I take my foot, go up with the pedal to take it off, and then I put it back down when the harmony changes. And that happens here, and this is showing and that is recorded as MIDI data. Pedal up and down, up and down, and down. So I'm doing that while I'm playing the piano. I'm moving my foot up and down to change the pedal, and it's recorded there. If I don't like it, I can change that too. Yeah, there's a gap between things. Now I'm going to go put the pedal back on, or so I think. Yeah. Much more of a dry sound, right? How am I able to do that with MIDI? Does anyone know how I can switch from a dry sound to a wet sound like that with MIDI? Genius potential explanations. So I just moved it up and down, and it changed it from having the pedal sound and not having the pedal sound. If you were designing your own MIDI instrument, how would you make it so you could do something like that? Bill, you want to try to take a whack at it?
Sure. I mean, when I think of MIDI, it's just an instruction set.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so whenever you hit a key or do anything, it sends these keys on a keyboard send a lot of instructions. So they tell you keyboard on, and it tells you the note, and it tells you the velocity, and when you lift it, it tells you it's off. Well, I've got one of these pedals as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, you press it down, it says it's on. You lift it up, it says it's off. The
Yep.
thing about the keyboard is that those instructions are used or tied to a particular voice, a sound, and then that's what it's commanding. But on a pedal, it's commanding an effect. And it can command any effect, but in this case, it's the effect of sustaining notes.
Yeah.
So you could go back afterwards and add, if you just didn't like the way you played it, you could get your pedal and add it in later.
That's
and make
correct.
things
In fact,
sustain.
a lot of times when people put MIDI notes in for piano, and they don't play the piano, especially if they're entering the notes one by one. Because I can go ahead with MIDI too. I don't have to, instead of taking the keyboard and hitting all the notes and playing in real time and recording which notes I played on and off and stuff. I mean, I can also go in here and I can just double click notes and enter them. You know, and I can make them whatever length I want by dragging them out longer. Could go to the side of it. Then I can go over here and I can say, nope, I want pedal on that. Oops, where's my pedal? Audio volume. I can take things like this little drawer and draw on MIDI data wherever I want. And go back to my my loudness, or what they call it, MIDI velocity, and I could say, nope, I want it like that. Pro Tools even has some nice modes where you can do like lines and stuff like this to create a crescendo. When it get louder over time. And now. That last beautiful ending. Thank you very much. But yes, thanks. Chase understands this genius happening here. But you can.
How did you say you can do a crescendo?
So what I did is here's all the MIDI velocity at the bottom, or the recordings of how fast I hit all these keys. And I can say, I don't want that. I want to change it to get louder over time. So what I did is I clicked on the pencil tool and selected line. If you long click on the pencil tool, it'll give you all these different ways in which it can edit stuff. So instead of freehand, which is normal, I clicked line, and then I went like this, drag from bottom to top, and it makes a crescendo. And I can do the opposite. So now, play it here. It's going to sound relatively awful.
But you have to go into. Do you have to go into the volume?
Yeah, and for MIDI, they call it MIDI velocity. So what are all these things, these MIDI types of things? As Bill said, to a certain degree, when I was asking about how do you get this sound of the piano with the pedal, essentially, there's a lot of different data commands that can be sent using MIDI. MIDI is just an 8-bit number, and we use seven of the bits for most of it. So it's a small number that's used to tell the computer all kinds of things we did in a musical performance. Did we hit a note? If so, it has a message called note on. If we take our finger off the note, it sends a message called note off. Every time we hit a note, we not only send if it's note on or off, but we say, how fast did we push the note down? That's called the MIDI velocity. And that's what all this stuff down here was. If we're playing a real-time performance, it's going to have complicated MIDI velocities. Okay, so it measures all the MIDI velocity. It also records a whole lot of other things, but before we get there, Bill noted that it talks about the instrument. Well, we have something called a MIDI channel. we have audio channels, right? We recorded on audio channels before, and we had to plug in the mixer back before the COVID, right? We plugged in the mixer channel 1 through 16. Oh man, remember those days? And all we had to worry about is trying to get to class before 2. And then we arrived there, like, we had to plug stuff in. We have physical stuff. Oh,
And Tim was always 15 minutes late.
15 minutes late. He's smoking blunts in class. It's just,
Yeah, man.
man,
Drinking lean and shit.
lean. He was, and you know, I always wondered about that. That guy's in front of the classroom. I don't know what's going on, but definitely I think he's drinking lean.
Yeah,
That
for
was
real.
back in the day, man. We could share it around and no one got sick. Amazing. So
Yeah, for real. Everyone was taking medicine and they just stayed unsick. Like,
I know everyone
it
went
was
to
all
class,
chill.
ripped out of their minds. It was amazing.
Yeah. Hey, remember those the two kids that sat in the back of the class? And they
What,
were
Dan
always like,
Fanny? I was their biggest fanny.
dude, yeah. The evil
fun.
twins.
I remember that, of course. It was good days. Okay, good days are coming back, folks. We're going to bring them back one day at a time. So over here, I have all my MIDI velocity, but this thing is assigned also to a specific instrument. It says instrument up here. I'm going to get rid of this MIDI view for the moment and go back to our regular view. You can also, too, if you like it in Pro Tools, you can hit the bottom of the screen, have a split screen, so you can see, like, you know, the track view on top and the MIDI notes on the bottom. Here, let me zoom into him over here. Oops. So here's my split screen, and here's my MIDI track up here. You know, whatever's clever on there. This is it's a clip
That's kind
region.
of how my engineer's setup looks.
Cool. Yeah, they have one like that in Logic and stuff too. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this a little bit smaller. Actually, get rid of the split screen for the moment. So here it says clips. MIDI a clip is just a recording, right? But I could also view it in all these other ways. Blocks, I don't know why you do that. Just shows, I guess if your computer's really slow or something. MIDI velocity, I could show the MIDI velocity next to the notes in here. It's kind of a cool overlay. MIDI volume, which is a separate thing. It's just how loud all that comes out together as a unit. MIDI pan, I could pan it left and right. Pitch bend. I wonder what that's going to sound like in here. Let's give that a try, actually. We'll do it. Nice. Okay, this is Tim drinking lean and playing Moonlight Sonata.
Yeah, that slaps.
I actually do quite like it. Never underestimate messing around, folks, and just making like wonderful mistakes, because it's a great part of music. Mono aftertouch. This is cool. This is probably not on it, but if you have certain types of synthesizers, if you push down the note and then you push it a little bit harder, some keyboards will have a little bit of give. And so after you push down a note, if you keep on pressing on it and press a little bit harder, it can create a separate sound effect. So it has to be built into the software and the keyboard, but that's a kind of cool thing that can sometimes exist. Program change. If I wanted to, and I had a bunch of different sounds, if I click on program change, I could click where I want, and I can say, at this point, play back a piano, and then later over here, play back some other instrument. So it would start out with one instrument, and then it would switch to a different sound set over here. MIDI program change. Used to be used more. Sometimes I get that when you export MIDI from a program, like if you export MIDI from a music notation program and bring it into Pro Tools, sometimes it'll have program changes where it tells you what instrument's being played in the track. That's kind of cool, because then your system knows what sound samples to load up. What else do we have on here? Program change. SysX. Okay, who knows what SysX is? Look at those faces.
I'm very, very confused.
SysX is system exclusive MIDI. So sometimes your computer will have some weirdo function that no other thing has, and so it has its own type of specifically written just for that. Just a specific controller has it. So nowadays, a lot of times they'll just use system exclusive MIDI data to send things like updates to your keyboard. So your keyboard can get like mappings and stuff, so it can like try to auto connect to Logic or Pro Tools and stuff. And so sometimes you'll download updates over MIDI using SysX. But again, system exclusive is just some weirdo stuff. Controllers is a more important thing here. Check it out. Mod wheel, breath control. What? Breath control? breath control. Okay, foot control,
Do you have any clothes that need to be laundered?
Not many.
expression, sustain, and look at the number next to that. It's pretty small. Can anyone read that? Especially on a phone, I'm sure that's pretty impossible, but maybe you have 20/10 vision. So next to sustain,
Unfortunately, no.
no? Oh,
No.
man. That's good, though, for everyone around, right? No one wants you to have good vision, especially when they're having a bad day, right? You look at them, you're like, always look blurry and good. So
Yeah.
sustain here, it says 64 next to it. That's because there's these things called MIDI CC. It's a whole system of sending out MIDI stuff that instead of controlling like notes, telling you which note to play on the keyboard, which sample to play back, it's about controlling stuff. So MIDI CC stands for MIDI control change. A control changer, MIDI control changer, is pretty awesome because what it'll do is it'll allow you to use the knobs and stuff on here, all these knobs on the top, allow you to use those to change what's going on the screen.
I just want to plug this in.
I wonder how smart Pro Tools is. I wonder if it'll recognize
My phone's gonna
my thing here.
I'll get it.
I'm going to plug one in a second here and give it a shot and see if it does that here. Okay, so control changes. There's a bunch of these things called MIDI CCs, and you can use them for just a ton of different purposes. Here, it lets you add other ones. I use this one a lot, expression. Expression will allow you, if you have a control changer on that, allow you to make some really beautiful sounds for instruments like brass and strings and that type of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and load one of those. I'm going to go make a new track here. Going to make an instrument track, stereo. Okay, and I'm going to load some strings up. I bought these ones for Kontakt. Where is it? Kontakt stereo. Okay. I bought these ones for Kontakt, the strings, and because I thought those sound really, really awesome, and they were competitively priced. Let's see, let's type on here 2 strings. And then I bought the other sound libraries, the rest of the orchestra ones that this company made. They suck. So, buyer beware. Don't buy the other ones if you buy them. Where are they here? They're by Sound Iron. So these are these ones here. The strings are great, but the other ones are not. String ensemble. Okay, so click on here. I'm gonna just click on violins. So it loads this up. Now, it's loading up all these samples right now into RAM. So it just loaded 1.33 gigabytes of samples. That's a lot of ginger bytes. Okay, if I play them, so
There you stop making so much noise.
this is pan to the. It's kind of soft right now, right? Let's turn this thing up here. So I think they sound quite nice, but look, this is what makes them super awesome. This is a MIDI control change. If I right click, it says Learn MIDI CC. So then I can assign a knob on my controller to this if I right click and say Learn MIDI CC, and then when I turn the knob on my controller, it'll move stuff around on the computer for me. So listen to what that sounds like. Here's a really soft chord. So you make these welling up sounds. You have a, almost a whisper quiet sound. And you can make way more expressive sounds like that. This takes velocity curves and allows you to control the evolving sound of things like strings and brass and stuff like that. So you can get a separate pedal for this outside of the sustain pedal called an expression pedal. And then when you're playing something like strings, the velocity isn't made by your fingers hitting down. It's made by dragging this up and down. It can create much more realistic washing over sounds. I'm going to turn it up because at the moment, I just want to hear the sounds. Not as real. I mean, they sound nice for one note. But they don't sound as good if you don't mess around with this stuff. Normally, you probably play, when you're moving the bow, you change you have subtle changes that go on into your loudness. Now, what else? This also contains these things down below. Check it out. If there's these green things, if I click on this, one says pits. So now, so pizzicato is the plucking sound when you pluck your finger, like playing like a guitar on the violin. This thing down below is called a key switch. When you have advanced MIDI instruments, they'll have different keys that you can play on the keyboard that are outside of the range of the normal instrument. And when you play them, it switches back and forth between different methods that you could play the instrument. So that one was plucking, or pizzicato. So with my left hand, I can hit these notes. I'm going to hit this, where is that? Where's the sustain? Now staccato. Staccato. This is when they play really fast back and forth, tremolo. So I have all these different types of sounds the violins can make, and I use my left hand on the bottom range where it doesn't actually have notes to hit different notes that trigger different samples to be loaded. In the background, it's just a bunch of samples everywhere, a bunch of audio files that are recorded in here. In fact, I could actually even go in with this and edit them, go into here, and I can look at the actual sounds in here, and here they are. Here's all the wave files in here. Just tons of them. Violin close, violin sustain vibrato. I can go into wave editor here, and I can edit any of these I want. Here's all these different things are folders of sounds. Close stage, reverb, full stage, sustain vibrato, legato, portamento, which means bending up, sordino, we're using mutes and stuff, tremolo, going back and forth. So every single one of these things is just hundreds of samples of violin playing in all these different styles, saved in folders on my computer. All we see is the interface for it, but when we hit the MIDI notes, it triggers all those wave files in the folders to load up. So it's pretty crazy and complicated the way people have created these things. It takes a lot of time and effort to be able to do that. And so, these libraries have a ton of sounds, or then quite expensive. I'm going to get out of this editing mode and see the normal thing again here. But for any of these, all these samples are just loaded like that in the background. So if we want to play something with a MIDI file, this happens often. You're trying to play something and nothing's happening for your MIDI. That can be sometimes because MIDI is sending its data through these things called MIDI ports and through MIDI channels. MIDI defaults to having 16 different channels it can send on. And whenever you're playing a keyboard or instrument, it defaults at first to port A. Heard of ports like Seaport Village and things like this. Port is just a place that stuff comes in. So it'll be port A and channel 1. Here mine says accept MIDI from anywhere. I can say all channels or channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 16. Okay, so these are my channels. Then it says, where do I give it to? I say, give it to instrument 1 on channel 1. Sometimes what will happen is that if I create a bunch of tracks, say I created new, I'm just going to create a MIDI track that's not connected to anything. And I'm going to create 5 of them. Oops, 45. Now if I look at my MIDI tracks, look what it does. It says MIDI track, port 1, then I have channels 2, 3, 4, and 5. Each one of these is channel 2, it's sent it on. The next one it says channel 3. Next, what do you get? Channel 4. And geniuses out there, what channel do you think this was going to want to be on? You guessed it. Hey, channel 5. So when I create a bunch of tracks in Pro Tools or Logic or anything, it automatically changes the channel for MIDI to the next one up. The problem is if I'm playing back with my keyboard right now, if it's not accepting it from all of them, say it's a channel 2 there. Now I'm playing something, nothing's going in here. Hey, what's going on? You get no MIDI. I have to say, take it from channel 1 because that's where my keyboard sends that out. Or if it's not getting from there, it's getting from some other port or something, I just say take from all. So anywhere I get, now I'm getting my MIDI signal. So it's important to know that whenever you're playing on a keyboard, by default, if you load up a sound, the keyboard is going to send things to channel 1. Let's look at one more example of that. Why? Because it's boring but super important. Kontakt, right? Things like this or like Falcon, you can load several different instruments at the same time. And some of you actually might have gone through this problem already. You went through and then you said, okay, I got the strings. Now I'm going to load up some other sound. I'm going to do this hybrid keys thing and load that up. Oh wait, no, I want to load this Indian ensemble sounds. Okay, cool. So I'm going to load that up. So now in Kontakt, I have several things. I have this string and these strings, right? Then down here I have this hybrid keys one. Down here I have this India one. What's it going to play back? Does anyone have an idea what might play back if I play this? So I just enable it. And the sounds playing are strings. Why isn't it playing back the hybrid keys or the Indian sounds? This happens all the time when you're loading stuff up. You're like, what? Several things up, nothing's coming out. Every time I load a new one of these things, it's going in and it's changing what MIDI channel the next one's using. It's changing it to be MIDI channel 2 for this organ one, for this hybrid organ one, and MIDI channel 3 for this next one. And so if I want to actually be able to play it, I have to go into here and I have to change the MIDI channel it hits. Or you could just do a simple thing. You can delete the ones you're currently in and just re-add another instrument. You can go, I want the India one. Okay. Now it's going to default this one to channel 1. Or it should anyway. Let's see. It's going to be a kind of fun instrument. All right. So MIDI channels and ports then. Port carries 16 MIDI channels. and it'll say something like port A, B, C, D. That way you can have more than 16 channels. So you might send your MIDI to port A, channel 5, or port B, channel 2, something like that. If you get them mixed up or you don't have MIDI coming out for some reason, the reason why probably is because it's not getting to one of those sounds. Now, these are MIDI channels over here for external MIDI. We can't use them, and we're going to use them in class actually. Does anyone remember the JV1010 from class? Remember that thing? Or is the sound modules we had a couple sound modules. I think maybe Madi used some of them, but we had a couple sound modules. I'll show you what that looks like. Sound module. I can't type at all when people are watching. Clinical problem. So, sound module guide, Sweetwater. Oh, this ought to be fun. Let's see what this sound module is over here. See if they sound any good. Yeah, here's Dan. Oh wait, are you hearing it? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Scott Tibbs from Roland, and I'm here at Craft Music to show you the Integra 7. Amazing new sound module from Roland.
Here with your co-host Tim Poland. So we have this here, which is a MIDI controller. It has no sound of its own. It's just like that little keyboard that I showed you earlier. Just like this thing. Doesn't have any sounds on it. But if I connect it to a computer that has sound files on it, I can hit the notes and it'll send data to those recorded wave files and make them play back. So all I got to do is hook up the keyboard to a computer or phone, for that matter, really, with sounds on it, and it can play them back by sending MIDI to them. And this thing, this box here, this big box here actually is just like a dedicated piece of music hardware that has all kinds of sounds stored on it. And then if you take your little MIDI keyboard and plug it into it and just turn the knob to like whatever instrument you want, you can choose whatever instrument you want, then connect it to your headphones and you'll be able to play the sounds, all the sounds, you'll be able to play them back that are stored in that box or that sound module. It's a really cool thing because like if you're doing live shows and stuff sometimes and you don't want to have your computer to rely on because you're like worried about your computer crashing or something, you can get a sound module like this and hook it up to any keyboard you have, any MIDI keyboard, and all of a sudden just add thousands of extra sounds that you never had before. And it's really easy, you just turn it on and off. You don't have to like configure software or do anything. You just buy that thing. A lot of the high-end computer workstation keyboards that have awesome sounds and stuff on them, you can buy just the box version of this. Like no keyboard, you can just buy all the sounds that come in with them on a sound module like this, and then plug your existing keyboard in, and now add all the sounds back. And so that's what this sound module is. He's just sending MIDI out of this keyboard over cable into the sound module. If you plug speakers into the back of the sound module, then it'll go out the speakers, or you can just take out your headphones.
And for some great deals, check out the...
So this is actually an old school MIDI cable. It has 5 little pins on it. Looks like a matrix thing to connect to the back of your brain. And it just sends out MIDI data. But nowadays, almost all the time, we send the same MIDI data over a USB cable that's able to translate that stuff. Here's a pedal I was talking about to do on and off. And you just select whatever sounds you want in this thing, plug that MIDI cable into this box, and when you start hitting the keys, it'll trigger these sounds to play back. And they're trying to sell you all this stuff.
Bundles at Craft Music. The W, nearly 6,000 sounds.
Oh, 6,000.
Amazing acoustic sound going to take place. The Supernatural Sound Engine. And let's adjust the ambience level. So this, let's go and
So he's adjusting various settings. All that stuff basically happens by recording a bunch of different sounds. It's really time intensive and labor intensive. You have to record 10 billion sounds of all the different possible ways you could do something for instruments. Then on top of that, what they usually do is they put a synthesizer layer. So they have something that can generate its own sound using math and stuff, a synthesizer. They'll put that over as like a layer on top of the pre-existing audio recordings so that you can further manipulate those sounds. So if I'm in Pro Tools here, I'm looking at an example of that. I look at this UVI workstation thing. It's got this front face that we see, some pretty picture of the Celesta, okay? And then then we can also go to effects, tell how wet and dry it is, put chorus on it, and put reverb on it, and all this type of stuff. Well, that's not the audio farts. That's not the audio parts itself. It's not a wave file, but it's like, it's like putting plugins on top of it, essentially. Okay, it's got an arpeggiator too. Yay. Another fun thing about MIDI, right? You can, since it's just data, you can get plugins that generate MIDI data to do things like strum chords for you. This is an arpeggiator. It just sends out whatever I play the notes. It says play them one after another in a row. It's just changing my MIDI messages. So you can get ones that help you write chords and do all kinds of crazy stuff in them. I'm going to disable this thing. Okay. But now I'm going to finish with our intro to MIDI stuff. I'm going to show you two more things. One, I'm going to show you kind of the connection of how I can connect MIDI tracks to other things like this. We don't have necessarily any hardware, but what you do to connect Pro Tools to hardware like this, you could have Pro Tools actually send MIDI out to this module and have Pro Tools play back this external module. Does anyone have a Moog synthesizer or any type of synthesizer like this, old school synthesizer? Anyone ever use one? If you ever use one or plan to use one, you're going to have to take MIDI. If you want, you can play them back by MIDI actually, but so you could write a track in Pro Tools like this, and you could send this MIDI out to your synthesizer and make Pro Tools play back your synthesizer, which is pretty sweet, right? You have an existing keyboard, you can download some insane MIDI thing from like some crazy classical composer or something, and then you can push play in Pro Tools. It'll send the data to your keyboard and play back your keyboard for you. Play back those sounds. In that case, you say track, new, and you don't do, usually we do instrument track because it's built-in instrument. In that case, if you wanted to play back your synthesizer, or if you wanted to send Pro Tools sound out to something like this, if you wanted to send sound out to a sound module or something external outside a computer, nowadays they call that external MIDI. You just create what's a regular MIDI track and not an instrument track. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to call it external MIDI for this one. Create. All right, now I create external MIDI. I'm going to say, I want to send my MIDI out to somewhere. Well, I don't have an well, actually I have this Casio keyboard. So I'll do that. Just play it back out of my Casio keyboard. Oops. Casio keyboard and channel 1. Never do something on the fly in front of people, folks, okay? Number 1. But if you do, make sure it's in my class. All right. I'm going to go here to this and put it as a notes view, see if I can copy and paste the Moonlight Sonata notes. I think I did that. And I'm going to have the recorder on there. Casio keyboard, channel 1. Okay, it's coming out of here, but it's not coming through my speakers. So I can actually play back these sounds. It's gonna sound a bit worse coming through the speakers, but I have just a keyboard that I was playing on the Moonlight Sonata stuff. I can go in here. I don't really need it to come in from anywhere. But I can take this MIDI out. I can send it either to strings from my contact instrument from my other track. I could send it to that UVI workstation. Or I could send it out to MIDI controllers and stuff that I have plugged in. So that's a pretty cool thing to do external MIDI. Logic, same type of thing too, and Ableton. Most of them nowadays will call it external MIDI because the idea is you're sending MIDI not inside your computer, but you're sending it out to some other program. Questions about any of that stuff at the moment? Any things that popped up, you're like, what was that one thing, or how does that stuff work, or how would I do ABC with my own equipment?
I
Chase.
have a question. Well, I have two. There's so you know how in Logic there's like a built-in keyboard?
Yes.
You just play with your on your laptop or on your keyboard. Is there one in Pro Tools?
Yeah. Let's see. What's the thing called? Piano. There isn't one built in, but I forgot there's this piano virtual keyboard. I forget where this thing is. Maybe it's this virtual piano net. That's pretty cool. Is this downloadable or something too? So some virtual piano online. It's interesting. I think though that there's something like this. If you remind me about this later, or look through this, there is a downloadable virtual piano that you can use. So you just search for virtual MIDI piano Pro Tools note input. Or if you can't find it, let me know. Because basically you can find one that you can download, and then you can use that to enter MIDI notes into Pro Tools. So yeah, it doesn't have one, which sucks. But you can do that, and you can enter it with your. Then you can like connect your QWERTY keyboard on your laptop to enter notes that way. What other ways can you do it? I would. Let's see. Maybe see if I can just find the dang thing. Let's see. MIDI virtual keyboard Pro Tools. I wonder if there's a video of mine or something. No, okay. What is that thing? I think it might. Yeah, I think it might have just been this virtual keyboard here. Yeah, this ugly thing. Okay. So if you download this thing, you can enter MIDI notes into Pro Tools using this instead of the normal typing them in. You can enter them though, note by note by clicking them in. I'm on program change at the moment. I need to go to notes, and it'll enter whatever value you have for the grid. So let's transition that grid then to the last thing about basic MIDI stuff for the moment. Is we can create all these notes, and if we want to enter them manually, actually I'll go to this view. Instead of seeing them inline, I want to go to Window and go to MIDI Editor. And I have these musical measures, right? Measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Does anyone see up here it says 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4? Does anyone know what that means? When you're measuring music, it says 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, and then it says 2, 1.
Each per measure?
Yeah. So musical measures, when music is made up, it's made up in general. When people are doing it with music notation, they talk about where you are in a musical group. They measure that stuff in these things called measures. And so this is being measured by Pro Tools. It says this is measure 1 over here, measure 2, measure 3, measure 4. Each measure usually is divided up into 4 parts. So we go like 1, 2, 3, 4. Next measure 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, so on like that. And if you divide up a whole measure into 4 parts, then they call them fourths or quarters. This little thing here, this little grid that we have on, measures how we enter those things. And it says, oh, do you want to enter quarter notes? If I do, it takes up 1/4 of this measure. I can also change that. Let's see. Is that it? We'll have to see. Nudge value, grid value. Now it's dividing up into eighths. So there'll be 8 little parts. 30 seconds. 64ths. You can barely even see those things. Let's take that note over here. So yeah, let's hit a 64th note. We're going to click it in. And then I'm going to repeat that thing. Oh no, it's repeating every measure. So they click and drag like that. Sounds amazing. So I can enter them like that, and whatever my grid size is, it'll enter them at that size. Makes it a quick and kind of accurate way of entering these things. Most of us, though, are probably going to want to perform things at some point if we want to have a really authentic sound to stuff. And if you do, though, you can make timing mistakes sometimes. So if you make mistakes in your timing, you can fix them. I'm going to select some notes I want to fix. It's pretty good in timing, but not perfect. If I zoomed way in, you'd see that, well, there's a few notes that are not exactly on this line. Over here, there's 2 notes right here. See if I zoom way in, the bar line is here, and here's a note starting a little bit early, starting a little bit late. So what I want to be able to do is take whatever I've recorded, or a selection of it, and take everything and just force it to be exactly where the beats are supposed to happen on that grid. To do that, you can go to Event, and Event Operations here. I think it's kind of a stupid place to put it in, and Quantize. And what Quantize does, as we saw with the audio, right? Same type of stuff we did with audio too. Quantize lets us force things to be exactly on the grid. When you have a lot of notes that you're entering in a lot of different tracks, it's really crucial to quantize, otherwise things end up sounding pretty bad. Eventually they don't sound very close together. So it says, how do I want to quantize it? Well, if I look at my grid, if I look at my grid, I can kind of guess how fast my notes are. The grid says here 4/3, 4/4. So from 4/3 to 4/4, that's 1/4 note long. This note here, look, it's longer than a quarter note. How about this one? What type of note do you think this might be? Quarters from here to here. So this one I'm guessing probably an 1/8 or 1/16. And I have to ask myself, how fast do I ever play? Do I have really super short notes? If I don't quantize it right, it'll try to like give it an accuracy of that's way too big. So I'm going to do it wrong. I'm going to say I'm going to quantize everything to a half note. That means if anything's off, it's going to move it to wherever the next half note is. I hit apply. Now things only start every half note away. That screwed up my timing. That's not going to work. So in general, if you don't know what you're doing, usually people play from a speed of a quarter note up to about a 16th note. If you're not sure, you can try them and then undo them. Let's try 8th note. Apply. That looks better. Let's listen to how it sounds though. Nope, that didn't work. Let's do 16th now. And apply. Oh, the bending happening. That was right. So it was on 16th notes. Now, I made it go like super hyper accurate, exactly stuck on the downbeat there. So it's right exactly there. But look at these other options I could do. I could, well, first of all, I could quantize triplets, quintuplets, nonuplets. hextuplets, whatever the heck I want. I can type in any ratio I want, and Pro Tools will quantize to that. I can say, if I'm doing drums, sometimes drummers, when they record drums, want the drum to come in slightly early on purpose. They're pushing the beat. It makes you feel like you're anticipating the beat, and it can make it so that your song sounds even more energetic. So I could say, no, offset the quantization so it comes in a little bit early. Ticks is how much you divide a chord note into. Pro Tools divides up a chord note into 960 parts, 960 ticks. So you can actually change the amount of ticks in the super small gradation here to do that. If you want to have a really chill, laid-back track, you could offset the grid by a positive amount. And if you do that, it'll come in late, so everything will sound like super relaxed. It won't come in super late, but just a tad late, and so it has a way more laid-back feel, right? So you want the dance track, maybe you're offsetting the grid so things come in a tiny bit early. Maybe that reggae track, have it come in just a little bit late, okay? I'm not trying to stereotype here, or am I? Bad, Tim, bad, Tim. No, do it any way you want with your drums, folks. You do you, okay? But know how to quantize. Randomize, this one's kind of cool. You can say, how, do I want everything exactly there? No, because it sounds, people complain that sounds too robotic. Okay? Randomize it so that not everything is going to be exactly quantized. It's going to be random between that. Swing, let's see what it does with this. Swing will make it so that your eighth notes, if you have eighth note pairs, the first one is long, the next one's short. So to go da 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 like that. Well, bum bum. That pitch bend's really. So you can take any classical music and make it sound like it's got a sort of jazz swing to it by putting that algorithm there. This is really nice for the people who want to get hardcore about having the exact perfect non-robotic touch. You can say only quantize notes that are within a certain range of being off. If they're pretty close, leave them alone. So if they're within 30% of the range of being like right next to where they're supposed to be, just leave them alone. Don't mess with them. This says, yeah, and once you decide to quantize notes, do you want to push them all the way back? Nah, I want to push them 74% of the way back to where the grid line should be. So I just slightly nudge certain notes that are way off to be a little bit closer, or leave the ones that are pretty good already, leave them there. And then I never make everything go exactly on. I don't force it because no one human would play it perfectly like that too. I kind of like push it in the general direction closer to make it tighter. So it's not the most interesting looking menu, but man, is it deep. There's a lot of stuff you can do. This is pretty awesome too. Change velocity. I can say, you know, I want to take that crescendo we did earlier, and I said I want to change the note velocity. Notice it says here, note on and note off. These different MIDI things you could do. It says I want to set all notes to be the exact same level. Okay, you could do that if you wanted. If you didn't want there to be variation, I want to scale the notes by something. Or I like this one, curve. I want to go from 1% to 400%. And change it to be an exponential curve. So now I apply it, and it's going to scale these velocities. Let's undo that and make it a more realistic one, though, and say from 10% to 100%. And now all these velocities are smoothed out. I can ramp them up. I can randomize them. Sometimes when you just want to create weird sounds in the background and stuff, hitting random and randomizing it, the velocities can be a really effective thing to do. Scale by 200%. Now they're twice as loud, right? So lots of cool stuff you can do there. I can transpose them. If I have a hard song that I'm trying to play and it's in some like key like F sharp and I don't like that, I can say, I don't like that key. So instead, let's move everything up or down. I'll play it in C major, which is easier, and I'll just move it down or up. So Moonlight Sonata is in C sharp minor. I'm going to put it in down by 1, oops, -1, and apply. Now it moved all those down to C minor. A little bit difficult to hear though with all that pitch bend in there, huh? Let's delete that pitch bend. I'm gonna go in here, select it all, hit delete. I could transpose the whole thing again. Just say nope. Transpose from C to E. Apply. So that's awesome if it's in a hard key and you don't know how to play it in the easiest key for you with all white keys, and then you can just transpose to whatever key you want, and it'll play that. Pro Tools, since it's making MIDI, since all MIDI is just an instruction set to do something, it's represented here by how long a note lasts and stuff. Pro Tools will show you all that information about it. You can go to this MIDI event list, and it'll show you all these MIDI things that happen. It says, you played this note. It was a B2, and its velocity or loudness was 106, and it had a pedal on it, which is MIDI note number 64. So it tells you all that junk, and you can actually edit it in here too. It jumps to those different notes. Okay, but since MIDI is just a series of commands and things, you can use the same commands to tell music sheet music programs how to display the notes. And since you can do that, you can click through this score editor, and you can represent your notes using a musical score. So now I can go in here and here's the same stuff, but as a musical score. So I can take all that too when I'm done, and I can say File, Export MIDI. It's taken forever because I have this stupid slow hard drive that's connected and likes to go to sleep. It's like, dude, I'm trying to get that hard drive on my Mac.
Dude, where's my car?
Yeah, it's asking that also. It's like, dude, where is that car? Okay. So I said choose a MIDI file. Oh, no, I didn't say, I said import. File, export MIDI. Says, what do I want? One MIDI file, multi-track? Yeah.
Oh no, my phone's overheating.
Oh, no. Ah, no.
Ah no, ah no, ah no.
That's, who's that guy in the Family Guy? The hippie guy? I know.
Oh, Jeffrey?
Yep, Jeffrey.
Or no, it wasn't Jeffrey, it was Bruce.
Bruce.
His name was Bruce.
Bruce.
Jeffrey, where have you gone?
Exactly, that was a good imitation. I know.
Ah no.
So I take this MIDI track. Okay, this is what happens in this class, folks. It's being recorded. Giggity. I hit this OK, and I call it.
That's what he said. Giggity.
He's Quagmire. Giggity, 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 giggity. Something else. So it's hard to say fast giggities, folks. Once you get past 2 of them, it becomes much more difficult. All right.
Giggity.
Right. That third one, difficult. You guys can all practice this later for extra credit. Okay.
Post it on SoundCloud.
Exactly. Post that stuff. If you guys got a giggity remix, then appreciate it. So now I have this Moonlight MIDI file, and I can say open with Sibelius. or open with whatever program you have. There's a free music program that's pretty good, really, called MuseScore.
Oh,
I can go like this, open it with that. I wonder if I can open it with 2 different programs from the same file at the same time. Folks, estudiantes, vamos a ver. Computer's complaining.
oh Lord.
Previous, no. What? I told you to open that thing. You did nothing. Liar. Open with MuseScore. Nice. That's when we put all those 64th notes in there. But pretty sweet, right? I already have some MuseScore. Now let's see what happened in Sibelius. Oh, that's cool. It's giving me options. What do you want to do with the instruments and stuff? How do you want to interpret the notation? I say, okay, I don't know. That does not look good. It's on one staff, like a staff, a treble staff, right? You can give it options to display things more intelligently, but that does not look very wonderful. You can also see in the background it's got weird MIDI data stuff written and stuff in there. But you can make it happen. If you want to know how to make it happen better, you watch my video on YouTube and like and subscribe. But that's it for MIDI, right? It's a series of pieces of information sent out to control sounds, and you can edit it in a bunch of ways. You can turn it into music notation. The biggest thing is it allows you a lot of freedom for mistakes and fixing things. And it also allows you to control surfaces and do a bunch of stuff like that. Now, in your class stuff for this week, I have various videos that I want you just to watch that go through and explain things. Like I talked about what a MIDI controller was, right? I'm going to have this new MIDI project, and I'll announce this Studio Skills thing for this. Okay, I'll announce a date for that, and our MIDI project on Thursday. But this year, I'm going to have you go into Pro Tools basically and take a MIDI file and quantize it like I showed you how to do. Okay, so you can watch this. I'll give you the actual assignment on Thursday. This goes homework or stay work, or I guess it's.
No, it's still technically homework.
All right, you're right. I'm wrong on this one. I'll admit it, folks. I am wrong.
Damn right.
Yeah, you are right. What it says right here, when you click on an instrument patch, so this is the homework. Basically, watch these videos, and you and on Thursday I'll give you an assignment where you edit MIDI yourself. Okay, this is an explanation of the stuff in Pro Tools. I show you the Pro Tools. It's an older version though, but I show you the instruments and stuff it comes with. This is a tour of all of those. It comes with some interesting instruments, I guess. This is the MIDI skills assignment that I'll be having you do, that I'll talk about on Thursday. But that's it from me for today about MIDI. So I'll take questions from anyone at the moment. If anyone wants to stay and ask them, Manny, for you or for anyone else, if you're listening or watching the videos, you're welcome to stay in the class. And it finishes May 28th. We'll have another project due then. Anyone who hasn't done assignments or is back behind and wants to do them and get stuff in, you can still do them. I'll take any project or anything you give me for 10% late credit if you want to. But I also do want to let you all know, okay, not that I want you to leave or anything, but for my class, for the other class, do you recall what happened with the late withdrawal things that you can do?
No.
So.
Oh wait. Oh, I was gonna ask something.
Yeah, ask away.
So if we're not comfortable with the whole like online class stuff,
mm-hmm.
and we just wanted to drop out the semester without having to pay or whatever, and then just come back next semester, could we do that?
Yes, you can. And so that but you got to do it this week. So it's May the wait, what was yesterday?
May the 4th be with you.
Oh, and what is today?
May the 5th.
Taco Tuesday and Cinco de Mayo. Okay. Both Taco Tuesday and Cinco de Mayo, folks. It's a pretty epic day.
Taco
So you guys are gonna have crazy house party and Zoom parties tonight, or go over or get so stock up at Sprouts, folks.
No, it's tacos at Tim's house.
It is. Without further belaboring it, May 8th is the last day to withdraw classes.
How do we do that?
I don't know. However you go and turn them on, I guess you go into your PeopleSoft thing. What is it? Is it called PeopleSoft in this place? Amazing. I have too many jobs. Let's see, what is this stupid thing called? It's the same place you go in to add your classes.
Oh,
You can
Okay.
drop them in there. Oh, I think it's this. Yeah, it's PeopleSoft, stupid thing. So you would go to you add things in the class catalog and stuff. You go
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, stupid thing. Hate this software. Sucks. I mean, this is amazing software. Mesa College. Oh, I'm glad you got this stuff.
Stop capping.
So you go into this thing that has your list of classes and that type of stuff, right? And
Yeah.
then you can drop it from here.
So when we drop it, is it gonna ask us why?
No, this is great. The great thing about this. So first, you're completely golden on all of it. Because what happened is they said, look, we're gonna let you drop classes till super late, till May 8th, and it's normally we get what's called a W. A W is the second Bush presidency, but it's also
It's a W to win.
That's for Anthony there. Okay. It's also withdrawal. It means that you withdrew from your class too late. They don't give you a grade, but it's kind of like a little stain on your academics. It's what they said this time is since everything's so messed up, we're going to let everyone that wants to withdraw by May 8th, and we'll not only like not give you a W, they give you an excused W, so it doesn't even count,
Woo!
and they give you your money back from the class.
Woo!
Yep.
Yeah.
So happy day to you, man.
Fucking love you, Tim.
Come back in the fall, and I hope you get your money soon.
You're gonna be teaching in the fall, right?
That's what they tell me. And in
Fuck
fact,
yeah.
dirty plug here, folks. Dirty plug for you. What I'll be teaching. I wonder if it's on my thing yet. It's fall. What is this? Spring? No. Okay, it's not yet. But so apparently, I'm gonna be teaching this class again, online or in class or both or whatever it happens to be. And I will be teaching the music, so part of a music internship, where basically I just hang out with you guys one-on-one and work on stuff. See you later, man. And I will be teaching music composition class too. So like just writing music, like all kinds of different strategies for making up music and writing music. So
Yeah.
I think I'm teaching those 3 classes here. And then I probably am teaching Intro to Ableton Live at Grossmont College, as well as Music Theory 1. So I think I'm going to have a million jobs next time. So if you guys like, some of it's stuff you don't know though, right? So jury's out what's going to actually happen with class and how it's going to happen, and I'll try to update you if I know. But apparently at the moment, they still don't know if things are going to be all online or hybrid or some version, just because it depends on what happens with the government and all that type of stuff.
I just need this COVID shit to just blow over.
Yeah, I think all of us are kind of not fans of COVID.
I love your class, Tim. I would never drop it for the world, but the online shit is just like, fuck, dude.
It's not the same. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and definitely also not a fan of it. I really like being around people, having hardware to work with, and it's it changes things. But whatever happens for me, I'm going to try to make the best version of it. Sometimes you have to polish a turd a little bit and try to do what you can with it. My version
Yeah.
of things is that I'm going to try to make it easier for students to have more leeway in like the programs they use and that type of stuff. If it happens to be all online next semester, I'm going to have to basically try to do what I've done here is and translate some assignments to an online version. Part of that will be dependent on what software students have to work with, right? So
Like right now, like I just I just got a job. I'm trying to save up to get my own computer because I can't really I don't know, my phone is just too slow. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And it's just so I'm just trying to get a computer so I could also work on my own music at home and stuff like that.
What type of phone do you have?
It's a
Android?
it's an Android, Samsung Note 9.
Okay, you know what you might want to check out too? I don't know. Do you use any music programs on your phone?
No, not right now.
There's this one called BandLab.
BandLab.
It's free. Does a lot of stuff, but you can use it like on any computer. It's built into the internet, like if you use Chrome browser, and you can download it as an app for like for Android or for Apple phones.
You know, the
Pretty
school
cool.
is giving out computers too.
And then you can the school. So I don't know what's happening with that. They were doing that.
Yeah, because I got one
Yeah,
for
I got an
myself.
email. I got an email about that, and they asked to like fill out. I don't know if it was like a form or something. It was a while ago, but I said that I needed one, and then I just never got any emails back about it.
What happened with you, Marty? How did it work for you? Because I know I specifically went when in the beginning when a couple of students were asking, I tried to get the music department people to do that. I got a few computers out, and then I didn't hear back from them afterwards.
Yeah,
So
they just said I applied for it. I think I just had to put my name and email, I believe, and then
then you go and pick it up.
after a while, I went there and I picked it up from like right in front of the administration office,
Mhm.
and we're gonna have to give it back eventually. But yeah, it was pretty.
So wait, we would just go to Mesa College and pick it up.
If you got the confirmation email saying that
Okay, yeah, I don't
it's
think I
ready
got
for
any
you
sort of.
to pick it up.
I don't think I got any sort of confirmation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you maybe check that or I don't know if they I don't know how many they had or if they stopped doing that. I know they were doing in the beginning. So what is this? Care email messages. Okay. Technology services, tech support. So I know that happened in the beginning. Check your email and see. It may be that they responded or to it or went to a junk folder or something like that.
Yeah, sometimes my email be acting up, and I won't like. It's either I won't receive emails or like I'll get them super late.
You might want to check that, and then also call the tech services here too, and they have us. Can give you this, send this in the chat or something too. Sometimes if you can just talk to a person there, maybe someone's answered in the chat here. Let me see here.
Like it's still not a for sure thing that I'm gonna drop my classes yet. I'm still thinking about it.
Okay, give it a good think though, and things will change a lot, and it's hard to know when and the rate of it, like right, because so many things are up in the air. So for your own sake, just realize that May 8th, which is what day is that? So this Friday, so last day for excused withdrawal here,
Yeah.
and Mother's Day coming up, folks too.
I just looked at my grades. My grade for my individual project isn't up there.
Oh yeah, I don't have those up yet. I'll put those in there. I'll put those in there by Wednesday.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
So my question was like over the guidelines for the MIDI project. Can we go over those just really quick?
Yeah. Although I'm gonna be talking about that on Thursday. So we'll do two things on that for the MIDI project. I'll talk about one, a MIDI skills thing, which I alluded to a little bit today, which is you guys going through.
So we'll do the MIDI skills before the MIDI individual.
The MIDI, no, I'll talk about both of them on Thursday.
Okay.
And
good.
we'll go through and like start building some stuff ourselves as a class, right? So today I wanted to like talk about lots of things that are involved in MIDI, and then on Thursday what I wanted to do with you is go through and practically do stuff. So we'll take MIDI and we'll quantize it and stuff, and we'll do things that you need to do if you're going to make MIDI recordings. Go through that process, and I'll talk about both the project, which will be due May 28th, the last day of class, as well as MIDI skills, which I'll have you guys be due for next week. The MIDI skills one is pretty simple. You just have to go and select some, record some notes, and then quantize them, because I want you to get used to doing that. It's an integral part to all MIDI editing. So not too tough on that, but I'll go over each of those on Thursday. Did you have any other questions for the moment?
No, yeah, my other question is, I just wanted to thank Molly again for doing the vocals for me, that chorus line that she did for me.
Yeah.
My individual, for my individual project.
Yo, Tim, I'm gonna dip out of here.
Peace. Out.
Later, bro. See you next class.
See you, man. Great seeing you, by the way. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great seeing you too, man. I'm so happy. So happy I got to see y'all faces.
Good to see you, man. It's good to see the faces.
Yeah. Later.
Other questions for y'all? You can either stay and ask me something, or you can peace out.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you say you're using a Privia, not Privia, but a Casio, the piano, electric piano.
Mhm.
So I tried connecting that to Pro Tools since I have issues with recording. I told you like the mic is not connected to the Pro Tools. So I was like, maybe if it's Pro Tools, if it's a MIDI keyboard, it might work. So I connect it directly to my laptop where the USB thing is.
Mhm.
And it's still not showing anything. Like it turns on as soon as I put it to my computer because I guess that's the power. And it's not playing anything. It's not recording anything. It's not catching the signals. So do you know where I'm supposed to connect to? Or is it the setting?
It should. I mean, it should show up automatically in Pro Tools. Let's see something here. It's all the new keyboards and the keyboards like this one. They're what are called class compliant, and what that means is they automatically, when you connect them, they automatically connect into your system. Oh no, this is looking at audio stuff.
So it did show up on Pro Tools. It did show up that it's there, the name Casio, whatever, it was there. But when I press the record thing, and then I push the other record on top of Pro Tools, and then I do play just like I'm about to record, and it's not receiving anything.
So maybe what you could do with me is I'll give you, and anyone else is welcome to if you want. I'll send out my what's it called? My internship link for the Zoom.
Oh yeah.
For today. And if you can't make that or something, Mari, let's just schedule some time so I can kind of just look at your computer one-on-one. Basically, you just share your computer screen with me. We'll try to see if we can figure out something that way. Let's see if I'm looking at my own MIDI and I go to set up at MIDI input devices, it should show you all of the ones here, right? I don't need this euphonics thing.
MIDI input devices on Pro Tools?
Yeah, so I went to setup and MIDI, and then MIDI input devices. And mine is checked on Casio USB MIDI there.
Okay.
Okay. And then when I create an instrument track, I go new, stereo, instrument track, or whatevs.
Oh, instrument track, because I did a MIDI track.
You're actually going to want to use instrument.
Oh, okay. I'll try that. Maybe that might be the problem.
But if not, I'm just going to finish this process real quick, and then you can try each one of these little things. Maybe one of them is the issue, or the other's the issue. You know, so sometimes you fix one thing but not the other, right? And then you're a bunch of little issues going on. And so I created this new track and make sure to put some instrument on it. Because the MIDI track, you can't put an instrument on it. The MIDI track really stands for external MIDI. And that means it's going to send MIDI from your computer to some piece of hardware outside of your computer. Seriously, Pro Tools? Can't load Falcon? Okay. So I'm going to pick some junk in here. Main, where is this? Can't see anything because I went to these weird modes. Mine actually. Some Pro Tools instrument. So when I load the instrument, here the top parts is your MIDI input. Over here it says whatever instrument you're connected to. And then that will auto connect from whatever your MIDI device is that you're using once you record and enable it.
Okay. I'll try doing that today.
There's one more thing you should check out when you're doing it too. When you're putting something on a MIDI track with Pro Tools. And here I have, not only do I have like the inserts showing, so I go to view, and I say edit window shows.
Mm.
Show inserts, right? So I can put like plugins or whatever else. But I also do this one called instruments. And
Okay.
I also do I/O.
You
Input,
gotta do that every time?
once you do it, it'll show up, for your next session.
Oh, okay.
But I just do that because if you put the instrument one on, it shows you the different MIDI channels that it's using.
Okay. And then the USB part can go directly to my laptop, right?
It just plugs in directly, and once it
Mhm.
does, you should be able to see it in your Pro Tools MIDI setup here,
Okay.
in input devices.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
try.
Yeah.
that.
Can I ask you, Tim? So we don't really need an actual MIDI plug-in MIDI that we can plug in, like an external plug MIDI. We can just use the notes here on the computer on Pro Tools.
Yes. Yeah. For quantizing, stuff, it's going to be hard. Well, yeah. The strict answer is yes. You don't need to use a MIDI keyboard. You can just click notes in with a mouse, or use different input methods with a mouse, including you can just click them in or draw them in, or you can go, like I showed a little while ago, to this site. I'll actually paste this in the comments here too. In the chat, rather. And this is this virtual piano that you can download. So I think I might already have this thing. What is it called? VMPK. VMPK. Maybe not. This thing, you can download it and use it to type MIDI into Pro Tools. Where is the dang thing? Installation. Download. Download now for Mac. But they have the Windows ones and stuff too. Your download should start after some time.
Because I feel like I'm not making progress as much as I should be, because I'm like way behind with because of the settings.
Yeah, of course. So, and your different case in the moment is just because you're, having struggled with Pro Tools working in the first place, that type of thing. So, why don't we, let's see. So for this stuff, I can talk to you today, or I can talk to you today or tomorrow about that. So far as the meeting, figuring things out one-on-one, I have to. Like I said, I'm gonna have to get back to you because I have to actually talk to the school and see what's possible. I don't think we're allowed to do that yet. But the only thing I think they've been allowing someone to drop something off and pick it up, type of stuff. But I'll ask Alan, since he's been really in close touch with that, and see if there's something that can be done there. So I can get back to you about that sometime tomorrow.
Okay.
With this thing, why don't you give it a try? And then if you're able to, and you're able to connect to the computer, come to my thing at 3:30. It's going to be from 3:30 to 5:30. So anytime in there you want to.
So that one, is it still the same link, same session ID?
No, I'll give you a different one. I think it's a different one. Anyways, I'll send it to you guys. I'll give it to the class. So this is that I was talking about. So I'll send you that so you can click on that, and as soon as we end this, I'll post that. I'm installing this thing, yada yada yada. This will act as like a floating. I think if it's right, yeah, okay.
If I don't join at 3:30, that means it worked. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But if it doesn't work, I'm gonna join. Is it still Zoom?
Yeah, it's still Zoom. But what we can do is, I do a lot of like one-on-one work with people where they share their screen and we like look at stuff and that type of stuff. And so we could go back. I could look at your computer screen. I could try to mess with it and stuff.
Okay.
Where's my thing? Allow it to work. Security and privacy. Open the program anyway, even though it's a dirty program for the internet. Okay, so now check this out. I have this. floating little MIDI keyboard.
Mm.
And I say, what? It's got some little sounds and stuff too, I guess. And it's a virtual input. I might have to restart Pro Tools for it to see it. Oh, there it is. VMPK. Okay. And so now, if I do this, load this thing. I have to get the right input here. Where is it? Oh yeah, that's the little thing. Predefined. So now I should be able to get this VMPK sound from clicking on this little keyboard and enter it in.
Oh, that's the virtual one.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So this lets you type in, click on sounds and stuff to enter them in virtually into Pro Tools, since Pro Tools doesn't come with a keyboard automatically.
Okay.
Doesn't have like a virtual one it comes with. So anyway, it's kind of cool if you're stuck and you don't have a MIDI keyboard and you're just kind of using a laptop on something for the moment.
Yeah, and it's not heavy. So
It's
I
not
don't
very
have to
heavy.
move around with it.
It's a
Yeah.
bit heavy for me as I've been out of shape from the COVIDs. So, but maybe others will have an easier time.
Mm.
So I'm gonna
Okay.
bust out of here then at the moment, and just and then I'll be back here at 3:30. Best of luck on your stuff though, and I'll send the link out. I'll post the link out in an announcement.
Okay. It's
So that if you
3:30
want-
to 6?
It's 3:30 to 5:30.
5:30. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope you get that. I hope that fixes something for you.
Yeah, I hope so too. Appreciate it.
No problem. All right. Peace out,
Bye.
and see you potentially soon.